the house you built your life in just became the most expensive negotiation of your life. And most people have no idea how to tackle it.
Welcome to the TNT Real Estate Podcast, where we spark conversations that set you up for real estate success. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Tanya, and each week we bring you expert tips on navigating Northern Ontario's real estate market. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing, we've got the tools to help you thrive.
Okay, welcome back to the TNT Podcast. I'm Tanya. I'm joined by Tyler. Tyler, today we're going somewhere very different. We're going to the dark side.
Dark.
Yes.
Is it
but dark but important.
I was gonna say, yeah. I was gonna say it's like sometimes dark because,
have to be.
like, I mean,
are we going to talk about Amanda and Kyle splitting up right now on Summer House? No, because you haven't caught up yet.
No, I have not caught up yet. I'm not even sure I know who they are. I think I know who Kyle is.
Yes. Well, later when you catch up, they get married.
Oh, yeah.
And now they're getting divorced in real life.
Yeah, we're still in like season 1, I think.
Okay. So you don't need to have a dark divorce. We're talking about divorces, separations, and the matrimonial assets, right? Like, what are you going to do with your property? It can be difficult. Of course, it's expensive. Usually, real estate is one of the largest assets in sort of the portfolio of a family, but we're here to not make it awkward. We're here to get down on some numbers and options and try to make this as easy to navigate.
Yeah. We're here to separate the mud and make it clearer for people that are watching.
Good. Okay, so let's put out a bit of a disclaimer at first. Okay, so we have a lot of ground to cover, but a quick note, nothing in this episode is tax, financial, or legal advice. We are real estate professionals. We're not lawyers. We're not accountants. Separation and divorce involve complex legal and financial considerations that are specific to your situation. Please consult a qualified family lawyer, accountant, or financial advisor before making any decisions. I should say, and financial advisor. Consult them all. We're here to help you understand really the process and the real estate options that you have moving forward.
Amen. All right. So first, we're going to go into, I don't know, you must be a little bit of a magnet to this. So like just to back up
it's probably
a little
my
bit.
Age.
Like Tanya and I share an office, but I overhear, like, people will just call you right in and be like, can you do an opinion of value? And we're getting divorced, blah, blah, blah. And it's not even like people that you know. It's just like, you must be
on like the Google search or something, or it's my age and my demographic because people tend to get divorced this time of life. But yeah, so we do get a lot of calls, people looking for appraisals for this type of marital split. And I always ask, what the situation is. Is it a divorce? Is it, I'm just curious and looking at potentially selling, because usually I don't tell you right away that it's for divorce or separation. Right. But once you understand what it's for, we talk about the differences between an opinion of value, which is from a realtor, and an actual appraisal from a licensed appraiser. Right. So appraisals are very different, and appraisals will hold up in court, and appraisals can be, used a lot more legitimately, I'd say, than a market value. Right. Appraisals are by AACI or CRA designated individuals in Canada, and they provide a very formal written report. Usually an opinion of value is maybe a letter that kind of gives you a range, gives some market data, but doesn't really give a finite number in terms of what the value is.
I still find it confusing. You know what? We should have an appraiser on the podcast, and we should grill them, because some of the, like, oftentimes we'll go to sell a house. Maybe not often, but there's been multiple times where we go to sell a house and they're like, yeah, we have an appraisal for $700,000. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there saying, this house is worth $500,000. So where is the discrepancy on this? And like, we have the same data. The appraisers, use the same comps that we use. They just use them differently? Wrong?
So so you can skew an opinion of value, you can skew an appraisal based on what its intended use is, right? So if the appraiser is doing it to help you refinance, get the maximum value, or working on the one side, the person who wants to buy out versus the person who wants to be bought out, there's differing motivations there, right? Yeah. So I think you can look at the data and you can skew it one way if you want to. And I've been there too. Yeah. Where you've seen that appraisal. It just does not make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. But
in this case, a licensed appraiser, they will have a really nice written report that can be used in court.
Yeah. And then obviously on the opinion of value side, it's not done by a licensed appraiser, but it's done by a licensed realtor in the province. And we obviously look through, I feel like we look through to see what the house will actually sell for. And that's, I guess, what they're also supposed to do. But we look at, what are the comps selling for right now? And we get to touch the houses. We get to go walk into the houses and be like, okay, this is why this house is selling at this price. And maybe the appraiser don't have the same access.
I don't think they do.
They just do the stats. Mm-hmm. They don't understand the smell of the house when they walk in.
We always talk about that. The smell of the home cannot be conveyed on paper.
Yeah. This one sold for $50,000 extra because they bake cookies before our showing. And this one sold for $50,000 lower because they have cats and they don't clean up after them.
Oof, yes. So when someone calls and says, I need an appraisal, we always try to determine what is it needed for, because we want to make sure that we can deliver that, I suppose that product, if it's going to be useful to them or not.
Right.
Opinion of value, most agents will do it for a low cost, and they'll usually rebate that cost if you do go sell the house with them. And typically I see both spouses getting their own opinion of value just to kind of get a ballpark. That can be super helpful. And then they have something to work with when they're doing the separation agreement.
Yeah. So just like to back up a little bit, when you say we trying to figure out like what they need it for, what do you mean by that?
Well, is it for one party wants to buy out the other?
Right.
Versus are we just getting an opinion of value before we're listing? Yeah. So opinion of value before listing, wonderful, easy. We can all do that. We can give them a ballpark. They can start working on their sort of separation agreement and have an idea of what the matrimonial home is worth.
Right.
Now, the matrimonial home is, even if you're not on title, it is split by both parties in Ontario. Again, this is not legal advice. But if the intention is to sell the home and split the proceeds, that can be a useful tool. But as soon as you start talking, one spouse wants to buy the other one out, it's like, well, she's, favoring the wife and she's favoring the husband, depending on what side you're on. So you just have to be careful and understand what the process is.
Yeah. And I was going to say, we kind of need to know what part of the process is, and also, what part of the process that they're in, and also how the split is going to some extent. Like if they're like, because there are divorces and separations that are just like, we're not meant for each other. Let's just sell everything off, split everything 50-50. Great. And then we can kind of move forward. And then, it doesn't necessarily have to go into the courts per se. Mm-hmm. But then there's obviously others that are, more damaging and rough, I would say, that like you need, in those cases, you need to have an appraisal and chances are you might need an appraisal each.
One. Yeah.
And then, because if you are going to the courts for your divorce, a legit appraisal is needed.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about the principal residence. So the matrimonial home, the home where the couple lives, maybe they have a family, maybe not. What are the options that you have with your principal residence?
Okay, so there really is 3 different options. There's sell it and split everything. There is one partner buys the other partner out. And then the third is like an alternative where, for a period of time, one could stay in the house and then yada, yada happens. It's kind of customized, I would say.
Yeah. So let's talk about the first one, which is selling and splitting the proceeds of the sale. So both parties are agreeing that they're going to move on, they're going to move out, and then the proceeds of the sale is going to pay out the mortgage and then real estate fees and all that kind of stuff, the legal costs, and then any remaining monies will be separated however is determined by the parties, right? Again, it's not always 50-50. Sometimes there's tax liens or different things that need to be paid out. But that's where selling the primary residence, the principal residence of the couple, really, it just gets split a little bit more evenly and cleanly. It's sort of the cleanest financial break to sort of move on because the market has determined the value of your property. And it's not a subjective, one person buys out the other.
Right. Yeah, and then so obviously the second option would be that one spouse buys out the other. And this one is obviously a little bit more difficult. You basically have to, refinance the house, but the one that is staying in the house has to be able to afford the mortgage on their own, which, I mean, it's becoming more and more difficult, especially as house prices raise. And then obviously whatever the refinance is, maybe they I'm going to say they kind of pay off the other person to leave, or the other person pays them.
Buyout.
But
there's like a buyout value, right? So hopefully the home has appreciated over time if it's been a few years.
Most definitely.
So then, like, depending on what the value is, determined, and that can be the sticky point, right?
Yeah.
That's the sticky point, is like, did you sell to your spouse too low, or are they asking too much for a buyout?
Right.
And that's really where appraisals and different opinion of values can sort of help determine that.
Right.
And then, of course, mediation
right.
to make it smoother.
Yeah. And then what's option number 3?
Okay, option number 3 is sort of the complicated nuance. Let's say I see this often enough, like when there's a family in the home, and this is all happening in December, January, right? And maybe kids are little, or they just don't want to uproot the kids. But eventually they've decided, you know what, we're going to sell this home and split the proceeds. But for the sake of family dynamics and keeping it calm as much as possible, let's have one spouse stay in the home with the kids, and then there's sort of arrangements for utilities and that support in the meantime, with an eventual decision on a buyout or a sale at the end of it. Now that can get super complicated, and I've even seen where sometimes what clients will do is they'll have the kids in the house and the parents will alternate. So they'll each have like a rental outside the home, and then they'll do their sort of week on, week off. And in that case, it's a little bit simpler to split, right? Each spouse can kind of take on their own cost of the apartments, and then they split the cost of the home for the interim. Right. But so that's where things get really complicated, and it's important to have mediation and to have open discussions.
Have this all documented.
Yes, have it documented, because then, a month or two in, if something changes, it's really hard to, have the, I don't want to say evidence, but, when it's documented what you've decided on and what you've agreed upon, it's just easier to almost enforce, right?
Right.
Rather than going back on your word.
Right. Yeah.
So complicated and super heated and emotional, but we're going to try to make it less so for you.
Yeah. And speaking of complicated, investment properties.
Oh my gosh.
And income properties. This is where it gets even more complicated, because we lose the principal tax, exemption. Thank you. And, so it's not necessarily an even split. And, the capital gains tax gets taken off, the real estate tax, the commissions, everything kind of gets clawed down, and then you're left with even less. Meanwhile, you could have just kept the income producing property, and it would be a great asset to.
So would
keep.
You recommend keeping that as an asset that you partner on together and still keep?
Absolutely not. I would not recommend that, but I would be more inclined as a couple to keep, let's say they have one primary, 2 income properties. I would be more inclined to sell the primary and then split the income properties. I would rather keep one of the income properties for a longer term and have to sell the primary.
True, because if you sell the primary, you've got the exemption for your principal residence, and then the other 2, because you're doing kind of a buyout, I wonder if there would be. Probably not a capital gains tax triggered. Again, this is not accounting advice, but each party sort of buys one out.
Right. Yeah.
And then you get to keep one.
I keep one. You sell the primary residence. You can do a massive extra payment onto that, make it even more cash flowing. Yep. And then you're in a smaller house or a different house for a couple of years.
Okay. So let's say someone has decided, we have 2 to 3 income properties. We just got to sell them. We can't agree on pricing. We don't want to keep them because we can't continue to work together.
Right.
How do you go about dealing with tenants and all that fun stuff about selling an income property?
Yeah, I mean, the tenant part of it is the easy part of it, really. It's, you treat them with respect. We treat them with all the legal, bumpers that we need to stay within. We got to give them their notice, but nothing really changes like from a regular sale to a sale of a divorcing couple's property. But I would say the difference would be, I mean, ideally you do it in different years, because if you sell 3 income properties in 1 year, you're like all of that extra income, all of that capital gain gets put right into your actual income. And usually if you've held the properties for, let's say over 5 years, you're going to have a huge gain, and the government's just going to take half as a personal income tax. Right. And so hopefully you can kind of stagger it throughout the... Right.
And that's where one spouse might have more of an advantage over another, right? If one is lower income earning and they say, sure, let's add $50,000 to my taxable income, that's fine. But the other is making $100,000 plus, and you're adding another $50,000 to the income, their tax burden will be that much greater than the other spouse. So... yeah, again, another thing to talk to your lawyer about, get that legal advice, and just try to make sure things are amicable and split as fairly as possible.
Yeah. So on top of income properties, gets even more difficult.
Gets more emotional.
More emotional. Recreational properties.
Yeah, so it's funny. Emotional, talk about emotions. My Quebec property is the one that I'm going to have the hardest time selling.
Yeah.
And I know practically in my head, it's the least money making. It should go very soon.
Right.
But I, even though we're not like in any kind of like situation, but just knowing that that's on the horizon, I find it really hard to let these go. And they can be really hard for families and for individuals to sell a recreational property, a camp, that family camp. It's been in maybe your family for a couple generations, or you've enjoyed it for so many years with your kids. That's a tough one to sell. And it's subject to capital gains tax as well.
Absolutely it is. And so typically the value of those properties are a little bit harder to pin down. And going back to the whole appraisal needed, you need a specialized appraiser, somebody that only does let's say city properties or downtown Toronto condos, is very different than somebody that's actually appraising these rural properties, usually lakefront or in the bush. It's definitely more specialized, and it's kind of the same as like selling an investment property. It's just the emotion that goes behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of have the same options for a recreational property or camp as you would any other property or marital asset. Is you can list it, split the proceeds, or have one spouse buy the other out. Probably the cleanest would typically be of course, the cleanest is always just to sell it and split the difference. But when it has that history and that sort of emotional value, perhaps it'll be a little harder decision to make on that one. Right. For sure.
Okay, let's get into the tough questions. Let's do the rapid fire.
Ooh, fun.
I'm going to start. Okay. Because this is going to be a difficult one. No, it's not. Can I list the house if my ex won't cooperate?
No, you cannot. The matrimonial home, well, two things. Matrimonial home, if only one person's on title, still both people must consent. You need to have spousal consent to sell. And if both people are on title, yes, we need everyone on title to consent.
The only way you could do it is through court order, and that's way at the end of the process, after all the headaches, after everything, and it won't be anytime soon.
Okay. So, do I need my own agent, or can we use one?
You can just use one agent, but a lot of people just decide to, get their own agents. Lots of the agents, especially in Sudbury, know each other. They can work together. It's kind of a good way to kind of represent each party.
The communication can be nicer too, like when one spouse feels more comfortable talking to their agent and then the agents just have to talk. It can be complicated though if your agents don't like each other.
Or
we might have a few of those.
They're also emotionally involved as well. Like if you get your friend and you're like, oh, he did this to me, or she did this to me, and then it becomes a little bit of a headache. But also I've also been on the other side of this where I'm the only agent inside of the split, and I'm like, I when I deal with these people, I'm like, all communication comes through this, we'll do
one channel.
Okay. Their text message, don't call me, Don't call me unless it's in the chat and we're having this conversation together.
Yeah.
Don't.
You want to be that constant source that's binding the parties together,
Right.
so everyone's on the same page,
Yeah.
and it's not like, oh, he's doing this, helping me and not helping her. Yeah. I get it for sure. Or you can have two agents like me and you, and we work together very well.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what if we disagree on the asking price?
Listen to your realtor. Your realtor will guide you.
Yeah, fair.
Okay. Can we delay the sale until the market conditions get better?
Yes and no. Should you? Maybe not. Could you? If both parties are agreeing and they understand that there's obviously carrying costs involved, but then also how long are you gonna are you gonna carry it for an extra year just to make an extra 10 grand? Probably not.
And it prolongs the process of separating and divorce and all that too. So
clean slate.
Yeah.
Move on. Okay. Can my ex just rent out the house without my permission?
No. Easy. Okay. Should I renovate before we sell? Oof.
Make it look nice, but don't renovate it. Because then there's going to be, we did laminate. Well, you should have got cheaper laminate. Or you got, Benjamin Moore paint. Oh, you should have got...
If you're splitting up, do you really want to renovate together?
Absolutely not.
No. I mean, it's hard enough when you're married.
I was going to say, that's probably why you're getting separated in the first place, because you tried to renovate.
Yeah, so don't do it. Don't try it.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
That's it.
The real estate questions are always coming through, especially with divorce and separation. It's obviously, not an epidemic, but it's, it happens all the time. And so just know that, get yourself educated, talk to professionals, talk to your lawyer, talk to professional agents that actually have experience with these things, and you will be taken care of.
Yeah. You're not alone in this process. There's a lot of us who deal with this on a lot more frequently than certainly you will in your lifetime. So just reach out to those professionals and they will be willing to help you.
Until next time, don't get separated, and we'll see you next time.